Hello, thank you for joining us today for another one of our NASCO webinars. We're really excited to be talking about gardening and food in the elementary level today, especially partnering with Sage Garden Project, which is a really cool organization out of California who is a partner with NASCO. And actually that's how we came to this webinar of Grow, Eat, Compost, and Repeat with Sage Garden Project, is because I happened to be working with them on one of their cart projects in August, and I went to their website and I was like, this is amazing and cool. So can you please come and talk to us more about this great work that you're doing in California to inspire other people and give them ideas for these great things that you are doing? And luckily, they accepted, and our webinar is today on this great November day. I want to thank you all for joining us and giving up some time on your Wednesday to watch our webinar. There's a good number of teachers who are joining us live, but we also realize that with all of the crazy teaching schedules, across the country and time zones, that some of you also are watching this recorded. So thank you all for attending and spending this time with us as we, explore teaching food and garden in the elementary. I'm really excited to introduce Grace Mcgurk, who's presenting with us today. Hello. And so Grace is a registered dietitian with a master's degree in public health. She loves helping kiddos get excited about fruit and vegetables and experience the healing benefits of outside to grow nutritious food. So she's perfect for this conversation. And she works with the Sage Garden Project as their training and evaluation manager and their nutrition advisor. So we're really excited then to have this conversation. And I think we wanted to kick it off with a poll. So I'm going to hand this over to Grace to talk about what they're doing, and we'll get started with that poll.
Thank you so much, Jenny. So if you guys could just fill out this poll question. I'd love to get a little more information about your experience with cooking with your students, or maybe trying to grow something with your students. We are based in California, but there's a national conversation happening around school gardening and cooking with kids, and it can really happen anywhere. So I'm really intrigued to find out on what you guys say. Okay, it looks like about 80% of you are saying yes, which is fantastic. That's so exciting. So I hope that for those of you who have adventured into this experience of cooking with your kids or growing something with your kids, that you can continue on. And if you haven't yet, that this presentation inspires you too. So yes, we've got 80% yes, 20% no. That's fantastic and makes me really excited. I think we can go ahead and get started. I believe I just need to share my screen. Am I sharing or no?
Yes, I think you have control, so you can share your screen.
Okay, got it. So show screen, awesome. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for having me, Nasco. My name is Grace Mcgurk, as Jenny said, and I work with Sage Garden Project. I'm excited to share with you all a little bit more about what we do at Sage and how we get kids excited about eating fruits and vegetables and being outside in nature. So a little bit about who we are. We are a nonprofit foundation, and we started in Encinitas, California, which is in northern San Diego, in 2011. And our primary focus is diabetes prevention, and we consider ourselves a school garden support organization, or abbreviated Sgso. And that's actually a term that's used nationwide, and there's a pretty staggering amount of organizations like ours throughout the country. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about that later if you're interested in getting involved. So we uniquely fund staff, not stuff. So you can find, if you're have any experience at all with garden education and you're just volunteering your time as a parent or as a teacher and you've wanted to get started, you can find grants for everything related to materials. So think things like seeds and compost, and even if you want to fund a greenhouse, but to get the labor behind it to actually put those things into practice is really rare. So we're so happy to fill that void by actually funding the educator themselves. We also provide professional development for all of our instructors across California with a 3-day training. And then we also have ongoing support as well. So this is our little map that we have in our office, and all of the Bs indicate where we are supporting schools. Right now we are in California, and we support over 64 Title I elementary schools. And we do prioritize schools that are in communities with a higher rate of type 2 diabetes. And our headquarters is in San Diego. So a little bit about how we're funded. We actually have an endowment from the Anthony Cerami and Ann Dunn Foundation for World Health. So on the left, you'll see Annie, and she is our CEO and founder, and her daughter is actually named Sage. And she had the idea for this foundation after helping her daughter Sage with a cooking project that she had at her school. And they had a cooking class all year long, and the feedback that she received from her teacher was that none of the kids, they rarely missed school when it came to the days that they were going to be cooking in class. So she kind of kept that idea in her head. She went on to start a cooking school in Tuscany, and then she met Anthony Cerami. He is a scientist and actually developed the diagnostic tool for diabetes. So if you've ever gotten your hemoglobin A1C checked, you can, have him to thank for it. So together they combined their passions for diabetes prevention and cooking with kids, and this was like the perfect little brainchild of that. So here is our team. We have a small but mighty team. So it's me on the left. And like Jenny said, I'm the training and evaluation manager and our nutrition advisor. This is my 2nd year with Sage, and I feel so lucky to have found this organization. On the right, we have Karen, who is our garden program director. She's also a San Diego Master Gardener and a wonderful resource for all of our schools. And then we have Kimberly, who is our wonderful executive director. I also wanted to share some research with you all in regards to the outcomes that are associated with school garden and nutrition education, and that have been pretty well documented over the past, I would say, 10 years. So there are positive impacts on academic outcomes, especially in science, followed by math and language arts among students who participate in school garden programs. We also see increased social development by building student self-esteem and providing a safe and peaceful space for students. We know this now more than ever, how important it is to have a safe, peaceful space for students to come to during school. And that's why we're so anxious to get back into our classrooms and back outdoors, because we know what a healing place it can really be for them. With regards to the food preparation of our program, in school-age children, we see that participation in preparing their own food is related to greater self-efficacy for selecting healthy foods, stronger preferences for fruits and vegetables, and actually just better overall diet quality. The results from all of these studies were consistent across programs, student samples, and school types, and despite the different research methodologies used. So the majority of this research was actually gathered from a meta-analysis of over 50 studies that happened throughout the country. So our program goals are really to award Title I elementary schools located in those priority populations funds so that they can hire their own educator. Whoops, I think I lost my screen here. There we go. We also help the educator with our professional development and their curriculum to lead the students to care for the garden and to create nutritious and delicious tastings that they feature in every single class. And we also, like I said, provide our own curriculum so that students can, enjoy the fruits of their labor, and we offer ongoing support every step of the way. So how we do it. So our traditional curriculum in classes follows this kind of cyclical process. So we start with planting the seed and planting the seeds in the gardens, and then we nurture that seed and we watch it grow and we observe, and then we harvest the fruits and vegetables that we've grown. And After that, we bring what we've grown into that nutrition lab, or just by using the cooking cart, which we love from Nasco, and we prepare the foods together. And the most important part is tasting. And we know that repeated exposure to new fruits and vegetables is so important for students and people in general to like. Sometimes it takes over 14 exposures to the same new food for somebody to accept it. So every single class, we feature a tasting of some sort. After we've prepared the food, we compost the scraps, and then we use worms and our regular compost to build the soil of the beds that we're using to grow the food. So it's this really wonderful cyclical process that can really start anywhere. So we have our Sage Garden Project Garden curriculum, and we do like to think that you can teach pretty much any subject in the garden. And we love that the garden offers a place for experiential learning in all of these topics. So obviously science, all of our curriculum is aligned with NGSS standards, so next generation science standards, features things like learning about plant parts, ecology, starting your own seeds, learning how to nurture something, which is so healing, how to maintain the garden. So from composting to weeding, our students are getting real life experience in all of those activities, learning about and seeing the wonderful way that worms transform our food scraps and make this really rich soil for us to use. Things like engineering when we're building our irrigation systems, and learning about pests, and then harvesting the food. And I think something that's really funny about looking at the difference between our schools, because we have some schools that have been with us for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then we have new schools that we take on each year. And the difference is almost always seen in how the children view bugs. So if we take a year 4 school, there's bees flying around, there's spiders, there's little, worms, they're so excited. But the new schools, they're so freaked out. They're running away from every pest, and the older kids can't get enough of them. So I love seeing that transformation. So I wanted to share with you an example of one of our lessons. So this is a first grade lesson for composting. So all of the lessons follow roughly the same structure. So first, they're going to tell the teacher the outcomes of the lesson and the materials that they need, as well as anything that they need to set up for the lesson. Then we always start with an opening circle where we introduce the concept. In this case, it's compost. And we actually used inquiry-based learning to find out what the students already know about compost. And so that also helps kind of guide the teacher with what they should be focusing on. Then we spend the majority of our class actually being in the garden and putting our hands in the dirt and performing the activity. So they're actually, in this case, they're going to sort their scraps, they're going to put it into browns and greens, and then they're going to throw it in the compost. We come back at the end with a closing circle that always features a tasting. It could be an edible, leaf that everyone just gets one, but we love having something that the kids can taste and kind of explain how it tastes using their senses. And then we also reflect on the lesson as well and what they've learned. And like I said, all of the lessons are aligned with NGSS standards, which I think a lot of classroom teachers appreciate and helps us get buy-in from the school. Then we have our cooking curriculum, and this is obviously where we use the cooking cart the most, but I will say that a lot of our teachers love using the cooking cart for their garden activities as well, because there's a mirror there so they can kind of show something like the plant parts really up close. But our cooking curriculum features a ton of subjects that obviously you can teach while you're talking about food. So obviously nutrition and health. Then we have economics, where we look at, what's cheaper and more efficient, buying a fruit cup already made from the store or making our own. And we look at things like the food waste involved and the per ounce cost of each option. We also talk about history and culture when it comes to where foods come from and why we eat them the way we do. Obviously, concepts like math when we're talking about ratios and fractions and measuring things, and ounces versus tablespoons. art is always incorporated in terms of designing the plate, and we even do table settings at our pilot school where we have a kitchen classroom, and that's so fun for the students. Working in teams is huge because each table usually is assigned, or each group is assigned a recipe, and they have to work together to create the recipe. Trying new foods, like I said, is so critical to the work that we do. We constantly, it's just exposure, exposure, exposure. They don't have to eat the food, they don't have to like it, but we say, can you take one polite bite? And that really gets them to do it, especially if they're seeing their friends eating or trying something new. Um, Following instructions is huge, and this is a challenge from kindergarten to 6th grade. I mean, following a recipe and following instructions, and the more we can expose them to that, the better, in my opinion. And then also just plain food safety and sanitation, which is so important. Here is a excerpt from our cooking curriculum. So our cooking curriculum follows different broad themes for each grade. In 5th grade, or in 4th grade, I apologize, this is 4th grade, students use fruits and vegetables to create models of the garden and study California's indigenous and historical agriculture, particularly with respect to the missions. They also experience growing, grinding, popping, and using corn in different ways. In this example, we have grinding corn to make tortillas. And they end the series with a complete meal of garden tomato sauce on sauteed polenta with greens. So in this lesson, you can see we introduce the process of grinding seeds to make flour for corn tortilla, and we like to prepare the teacher by listing the concepts that will be covered, the outcomes, the materials that they'll need, preparation, discussion points, and then also those standards on the left here. You can see we have the standards. And we also include a recipe for each season. So I couldn't fit it on the page, but the next page is making the corn tortilla. Something I really love about teaching outdoors and, just teaching kids how to cook and get involved with nature is it's a wonderful way, in my opinion, to deliver our next generation science standards that has been adopted by all of California, but also allowing for discovery and spontaneity in the garden. So if we were supposed to have a lesson about, compost, and we see a monarch butterfly right next to us in the garden, we're going to stop doing what we're doing with compost. We're going to go look at that monarch, and then we're going to talk about pollination, and we're going to admire the beauty and the wonder of the monarch butterfly. And that's totally okay. That's what happens outside. So we are able to kind of reinforce classroom science with lab or outdoor experiences and opportunities. And we always practice teaching with the scientific method in mind. So always asking questions, learning how to make observations and hypotheses. And we just love that there's kind of that personal touch with regards to being outside. We also love cooking and teaching outside because we feel like it really resonates with students that might have different learning styles. So kids who might not excel in the classroom sometimes really thrive in our program. So here we're making whole wheat pasta, and we needed really exact measurements of flour and water, and we had to double the recipes. So, math principles come to life when students start cooking, and it's really fun to watch. So what we provide as part of our award, well, first we give that $15,000 from Sage Garden Project to cover the cost of the garden and nutrition educator. And that is all that the funds are to be used for, is the salary really of the educator. We also offer ongoing teacher training and support throughout the year. We have a 3-day teacher training that we put on every summer, and then we also have ongoing trainings throughout the year. We have our wonderful cooking cart and all the supplies that go in it, which is wonderful, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then we offer that garden and cooking curriculum that I just reviewed. And then finally, we give $1,000 for groceries for the teacher to make recipes if they need flour or oil or eggs or something extraneous, or maybe they grew some strawberries but not enough strawberries for the whole school to taste in a recipe, so they can supplement with that. And we also do offer $315 to be used just for garden supplies. But like I said, it's fairly easy to find grants, easy to apply for grants across the country for garden supplies. So that's not usually the biggest concern for our gardens. Okay. Then when it comes to our cooking cart and why we love it so much, well, first of all, it's mobile. So there's wheels, and we love these carts so much that we give them to every single school. I think we just ordered 19 for our brand new schools, which they are so thrilled about. But yeah, so they roll from room to room. So if you don't, have a classroom that you're in all the time, our teachers can kind of roll them in and roll them out, or they keep them, somewhere around the garden, maybe in the shed, and they roll them out there. But it really helps us create a cooking science classroom in any space, which is so useful. And you'll see here that there's collapsible wings. So we have our chef Brendan here teaching, and if he wanted the cart to be a little bit more portable, he would just collapse the wings here. Also, you can see that there is a mirror here. So if he's teaching something like knife skills where we want to be really precise and show a certain technique, he can do that, and nearly all of the students can see him. On the other side, there's a whiteboard, so you can write the recipe, write what we're going to learn today, whatever fun, fact, and then it's easy to flip it. There's also an electrical outlet, which is fantastic. So teachers can just plug in, maybe they have an electric tea kettle because they want to have some boiling water. They can just, if they have an outlet, they can plug it in right there. We also offer an induction burner and a few other, like a blender too, that can be plugged right into the cart, which is really great. There's also locking drawers, which is wonderful because, like I said, we give all of the supplies to the teacher as well. So if they have something like knives that they want to keep safe, they can. So now I'd love to share with you our cooking cart in action. And when school started closing in March, we wanted to create some easy videos that teachers could just kind of send out. We knew how overwhelmed they are, that were easy and accessible to virtually all students. So our quick pickle lesson is easy for anybody to do. You can use virtually any ingredients you have on hand. Pretty much all you need is vinegar and a vegetable to pickle. So I am excited to share it with you. So that was a really easy video and an easy concept to translate to virtual learning. And I think I've made that quick pickle handout that we gave to our kids as well, our students, available to you all, so you all can share that, and the YouTube link is also featured on there as well. But our teachers have created so many fantastic videos. There's so much available out there already. If you're kind of wondering where to start, if you've ever thought about doing cooking with your kids, I think now is a really great time to do it, especially virtually.
And Grace, I was just going to jump in so that people know where to look for that worksheet for pickling. Make sure that you do check your bar for GoToWebinar, and there's a couple recipes which Grace is about to talk about, but then also the quick pickle worksheet is in that handout section. Do be sure to download it before the end of the session if you do want it, because otherwise it disappears. And if you need that worksheet, email us back at engage@Nasco Education, and we can send it to you after the session as well. But be sure to grab those amazing resources because they're great worksheets.
Thank you so much. If you're looking for other recipes, as far as cooking curriculum goes, like Jenny said, I have provided that quick pickle recipe, but I also wanted to share a few others with you. So like Jenny said, these all should be available to you. So the flexible recipes are fantastic, and there's 7 of them, and we love them for learning at home or in the classroom because you can really use whatever ingredients you have on hand. I've shared 2 with you today, so the flexible frittata and the flexible soup, and we love using these recipes all year round and just kind of changing up the ingredients based on what's seasonal. We also have recipes available on our website, and they've all been used like in a classroom setting, which I think is really important. And some of them are, definitely have a few more ingredients or require different cooking techniques, but we have a lot of no cook recipes as well, which I think is great. And that quick pickle one is an example. So here is an example of our flexible soup recipe. So it's not so much a recipe, but kind of like a template.
And
And
Grace,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you again. If you'll share your screen again, it seems I've kicked off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. It says I'm sharing.
Hmm.
Can you
Let's see
see
if
it
we
now?
can fix what that is, because right now we just see your camera and we don't see the PowerPoint.
Okay. See it now?
Oh, we see your desktop now. There we go. It's there.
Awesome. Okay, if you didn't see the last slide, it was just explaining to you what the recipes are and that I've shared them with you. And here is an example of our flexible soup. So like I said, it's more so a template, and we love to incorporate the concept of my plate here. So you'll see things like vegetables and grains and using protein, and then we have spices and optional additions. So this is a great recipe, especially for the cooler weather. We love doing things with soups, also super easy to customize. And then we have our flexible frittata. So our schools actually do receive, like I said, an induction burner and a toaster oven, so they could do this in their school classrooms. But at home, this is a wonderful recipe to do with maybe some older kiddos that have, have access to an oven and are able to use one. So again, a base recipe here is just like the egg mixture, but then there's tons of places for customization. So any type of vegetable you could be sauteing, any type of cheese you want to use if you don't want to use cheese, or lots of different herbs and spices. And we, like I said, we love focusing on whatever is seasonal wherever you are. In California, I know we are spoiled rotten to the core when it comes to what is available all year round. But every state in every region has fruits and vegetables that are available in all of the seasons. So like I said, sagegardenproject.org, you will see, if you go to our website, you'll see resources underneath there, you'll see recipes. The link is also in green right here. All of our flexible recipes are actually listed first, but I think we have like 200 recipes on there. So I would go ahead and give that a look if you're interested. So if you're looking for more resources about how to get involved with school gardening and cooking, and it sounds like, the majority of you have already maybe stepped your toes into cooking with your kids, or maybe you have a full-blown garden, or maybe you have a full-blown garden program, or maybe you're just starting and you find it interesting and want to give it a shot. These two organizations are a great place to start. They offer so many wonderful free resources that can get you started. And it really might seem overwhelming, but honestly, like an old egg container filled with some soil and a bean from your cupboard and watching it sprout is so engaging, and is a wonderful way to like help students start to learn about gardening and where they're cooking and where their food comes from. So first up, we have Life Lab. Life Lab is like the grandparent of this movement in terms of school gardening education, and they have been at the forefront of so much of what we do and have inspired us so much. So they have a great website with their own curriculum that we're inspired by as well. They have wonderful trainings for teachers, and they also collaborated to create this Sgso network, so School Garden Support Organization Network. I love this network. I go to their webinars every month. They have, you can watch all their webinars. They're from all different types of topics, from like funding to classroom management outside. And then they have a whole series for virtual education. So, social and emotional learning virtually, making videos, all types of things. So that's a really wonderful resource. And they also have in-person and virtual gatherings where you can connect and network. And their network is all over the country. I just saw something come in from, I think, a school in Arizona, and they were asking about creating a program for their LGBTQ and queer community of students. And within 4 hours, they had 5 different responses and all these wonderful resources from around the country. So it's a really great place to get information. They also have best practices, everything from starting your garden, funding your garden, writing grants, to evaluating your garden, your programs. So wonderful documents there that are available. Everything is free. And then, like I said, they also have that online forum. which is similar to the gatherings, but it's just a place where you can ask questions, and really it's an engaging community. So the other resource I wanted to mention was the Edible Schoolyard, which was started by Alice Waters, who is a renowned chef out of Berkeley, and again at the forefront of the farm to school movement. And their website offers many garden and cooking lessons that are really top quality for free for grades 6 through 8. So I would take a peek at those, and those two organizations together, they'll help you out immensely, especially if you're looking for grants and awards and things like that. They have whole resources dedicated to them. So the last thing I want to share with you is our award-winning video that really tells the story about what we do at Sage and why we do it. And we had so much fun making this video with the students at our pilot school, and we got a real, local chef to join us as their judge. So I'd love to play that now. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I love watching it and seeing all those kiddos. They've been with our school, our pilot school, since they were in kindergarten, so it's so fun to watch them make that video. And I know that when our schools our brand new schools, we always have that teacher training, we would invite them to our pilot school for the 3-day teacher training, and they would see the garden, and I think a lot of them would feel really overwhelmed, like, wow, how did this happen? But it's been 11 years at that school, and I am lucky enough to get to usually go visit all of our schools, and I'm telling you, like I said, just even a small little pod outside where you're growing basil is enough to get the kids excited about their food and where it comes from, and starting small is just the way to do it. So I wanted to leave some time for questions if we have any.
Thank you so much, Grace. That was amazing, and I always enjoy watching that video. I've seen it, I think, 3 times now, but it's just so well done, and it's just an amazing story, and the kids are adorable. So thank you for kind of telling us the whole story of Sage Garden Project and sharing the recipes and ideas. And we did have a couple questions that came in, but also if you have questions now, be sure to type them into the question box, and I will share them with Grace so that we can get them answered. And the first question that came in was especially from Kelly about middle schoolers, and asking if, any of the recipes that you were talking about and shared, if you think that they can be leveled up to work with middle schoolers with.
Oh, for sure. I would say, especially when it comes to the quick pickling, I would throw in fermentation. So talk about sauerkraut, talk about yogurt, and that's a really great way to incorporate some higher concepts into that lesson. So that could easily be leveled up, in my opinion. The frittata as well. I mean, you could talk about making a souffle. I mean, that's with eggs too, and the rise and fall and how you whip air into it, and all the scientific concepts that are involved with that. Like I said, Edible Schoolyard, though, is a program that specifically creates curriculum for middle schoolers, and they have a wonderful resource bank of recipes that are free, and they do everything from kitchen basics all the way up to nutrition concepts that are perfect for 6th to 8th grade, and they also incorporate things like global food and food systems. So really easy to level up with their recipes, but I think you can with ours as well.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question came from Melissa, and she asked, are there any workshops that go over Nasco kits and modeling how they can be used in the classroom setting? And also, where can she find those no-cook recipes? So I'll grab that first half of the question and say that Nasco does have some garden kits. We have a number of AF&R kits, including some fruits and vegetable kit that students can grow their own, but then also like a couple different decorative kits, including one for tickle me plants, for example, where the plants move. So it's not so much for eating, but it's kind of a really cool plant project that is a little bit like a Venus flytrap, that it moves, but isn't quite as aggressive as a Venus flytrap. So there are those kits, and we do occasionally do our webinars about various kits that we have, but I don't have one scheduled for that. But if anybody is interested in learning more about those kits, please do reach out to me, because then I'm happy to, even set up a one-on-one phone call and talk our way through, what might be some good options for you and for your school personally in the meantime before we get something scheduled. And then Grace, I'm going to let you talk more about where you can find those no-cook recipes you were talking about.
Yeah, so if you go to our website, sagegardenproject.org, and click on resources, you'll see recipes, and you can actually search recipes based on like the level of difficulty, the grade, and the type of recipe. So I would recommend the search words to use would be salad. We have a lot of salad recipes, smoothies, a lot of great smoothie recipes, dressings, and then wraps. So those are probably the majority of the no-cook recipes. We unfortunately don't have a filter for no-cook recipes, but that's a great idea, and I think we should. But yeah, those four like dishes probably comprise the majority of our no-cook recipes. We also have things like no-cook energy balls and things like that. So I would just take a peek at the website.
Wonderful. And then also this goes along with it. We had a question that came in asking if they can use your videos, like the how to pickle video that you shared with us. Is that available and able for any teachers to use?
Yeah, so if you're an educator and you're using it with your students, that's totally fine. I don't know if they're able to like extract the video from here, but maybe they could reach out to you and I could send them the video. It's also on our YouTube. So if you just go to youtube.com/ like Sage Garden Project, you'll see all of those videos there, and any of the videos on there you can use. We also have like a how to use this cart. We have a video that talks about making the flexible frittata using the cart, and we also have a composting video included with my quick pickling. Oh, and then we also have a casserole, make your own casserole. So yeah, you can find those all on our YouTube.
Great, that's a great variety of videos and resources, so wonderful. And then the last question that's come in so far is if you have any good recipes or lesson suggestions that teachers can use during this virtual learning time and blended learning time that many teachers are seeing across the country.
Yeah, so we actually just sent out, we're talking to all of our schools constantly and listening to the conversations about what they're trying to do when it comes to cooking at home. And so the biggest thing is really accessibility and equity. So we don't want to assume that our students have, what it takes to make a full-blown meal, but I think there's a few things that we can safely kind of assume that maybe they have access to. So that's really why I love those flexible recipes, because I feel like they could easily be used with any ingredients that the student may have on hand. We recently just got a donation from a grocery store, and a few of our other schools have done this too, with dried beans, and then they kind of do like a dried bean soup, and that recipe is also on our website. And the dried bean soup, all you really need is like the dried beans and then water and whatever spices they have. And I think it's a great way to kind of explore the kitchens or the surroundings of the students that you're teaching. So what do you find in your cupboard? What do you see in your cupboard? What can we use? So I think the flexibles are a wonderful way to teach from home. I know one of our most recent schools sent home a kit to make pumpkin muffins, mug muffins, so like individual containers of pumpkin mug muffins, and that was really creative and seasonal as well.
Wonderful. Well, if there are any other questions that come in, please do type them in, but that is all we have right now. I did want to say that, this is part of a series of webinars that NASCO does. We, in fact, still have 2 more today. So we have a STEAM STEM webinar coming up shortly. If you're not registered for that, please tune in. And then later on tonight, we also have the introduction of a new social emotional learning platform that we have in a partnership with Cloud9 World, which is a really amazing tool and is kind of just fantastic to look at and see and explore. And they have classes and courses for social emotional learning from preschool all the way up to middle school. So you can tune into that tonight as well if you would like. It'll be a good time. And we don't have any other questions so far. So I did also want to thank everybody for attending today, and thank you so much, Grace, for sharing all of your immense knowledge about nutrition and gardening. I know I learned a lot, and I look forward to learning more from those resources you shared. So thank you so much for your time and expertise.
Thank you so much.
And no other questions have come in yet, so I think that we can let people go just a couple minutes early. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.